Okay.
I got a couple of questions.
All right, Thea, go ahead.
Would, in your report, would one of those full-time be the chief's position? What's that?
No, there'd be just full-time officers. We talked about keeping the chief on to run the...
So, okay.
So you're
That's
actually
a fee.
talking about 5 full-time
Right.
officers in your
Yeah, well,
calculation?
I would, you know, yeah, but I'm just saying what we pay you, it's like a part-timer. Am I right?
Well, I'm a bargain, I like to
I know,
think
that's
that.
right.
Oh,
So,
My other,
wait, one question on that.
Did we have an
It's my understanding that once you reach retirement age of what, 65 or whatever,
Yes,
then there's no limit on how much you can make.
correct.
that's true.
So that's got to be taken into consideration, is that if the chief stays beyond 65 or 66 and all his salary jumps from 30,000 to 100,000 as a police chief.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen.
Yeah.
You
But
have to understand, these other towns.
that's what happened in North, from my understanding. So that's just something, if you're saying, well, the chief will stay on, well, that's fine.
But as to whether the chief is me or somebody else, you're still, and I provided Brian, and I don't know if you got the copies or not, I think I provided it to you, by law, you have to have a police chief.
We need someone in charge to do the scheduling.
There's a controller's
Or officer.
opinion. No, you have to have a police chief. You have to have a civil service qualified police chief. Now, how do some communities get away with not having a police chief? Nobody complains about it. As soon as somebody complains about it, then they're on the line not only for the present, but also for the arrears. By law, and I supplied the controller's opinion, you gotta have a police chief. If you got a police department, you gotta have a police chief. So, all right, I'm a bargain, I'm a retiree. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, the next guy probably won't be a
think he really
bargain.
answered it.
It's something to think about.
Okay. Yeah.
Did he really, what
Yeah,
was the answer
because
to that question
the chief
then?
would be, so the chief
He's
is
not
not
one of the
included
four?
into the one of
The
the
chief,
four.
No, just
he considered the chief a part-timer. Because he's.
Well,
only
I mean,
making-
I'm not a part-timer, but his salary
Right,
wouldn't change. Plus his hospitalization.
So it wasn't
Which
calculated into the figures of
No.
the savings. And that would be left alone.
Another question, the 20 hours for the clerks, is that, and this is not sure, but can they do their workload in a 20-hour week?
What is
that
our
something?
I have a list of duties for the clerks. Essentially, Denise Eaton, she's the parking clerk, and she does the parking enforcement in the downtown area, the 2-hour parking, which is driven by I guess the demand for that service by the merchants. She does the clerical work with the parking tickets, which would be not only her parking tickets, but the parking tickets that the officers write during the course of their patrol. Overnight parking in the winter, parking that constitutes traffic hazards or objectionable parking or so on. And then the big thing is she's the school crossing guard. And again, I guess the committee should think about this. Do you want to provide a school crossing guard or not?
But you can get a volunteer for that though, right?
Well, Jim.
If you're going to have a school crossing, if you're going
There's
to
no
have...
qualifications for it though, right?
No.
No, if you're going to have a school crossing guard, by law, that school crossing guard has to be paid for as an employee by the municipality. It can't be a school employee, and it can't be a volunteer.
Now, is that the school's problem or is that the village's problem?
Well, the village or the municipality can say, we're not going to supply a crossing guard. And then you can be on the first name basis with every parent that has kids crossing down at the elementary school.
Yeah, right.
Whatever happened to safety patrol?
Because, and I was the safety
Me
patrol
too.
chairman, I'll tell you what happened to that. safety patrol, definitely was what it was we had the kids on the four corners, this was before the chief was here, and it got to the point that it was unsafe for the kids to be out there. I mean, I literally was standing out there with them, and there were so many close calls, and that's why, you know, if anyone that drives through there in the morning and the afternoon knows that Denise or whomever is needed, because it is just the most unsafe corners there
The
are.
thing that's really elevated the level of concern, and I'm not looking to point fingers at anybody, but now that they've taken the buses and they bring them up that hill and swing them around into the new parking
It's
loop.
not safe either.
You need to have a very aware person there.
You do.
But are we getting I mean, how many hours does she spend doing the school crossing?
She's
Well, you
there
got-
from 7:30 to 8 o'clock every morning, and then she's there again by 2 o'clock to
2 to 3.
2:30
So
every
that's an hour and a
afternoon.
half.
She is there. She is there whenever school is there. She's there when we ask for early dismissals. She comes down. And not only is she there, but there's also a police officer, if they're available, that sits there. And he was in this afternoon doing, you know, things that they have to do. Parents need to be moved along. Complaint that the officers had the other day was parents are letting kids out onto the traffic side. So the officers are there going over to the parents and saying, this is not safe. You need to let them off on the sidewalk side. You have to do this. I mean, I think any parent, and I think the chief is right, would be up in arms if Denise wasn't there or the police officer wasn't there. It's just really got.
Or somebody there.
We've
Right,
got,
okay.
yeah, I'm
So-
not saying,
A municipal employee.
Yeah.
but at the same time, a lot of days she's there by herself because those guys are out on a call or they get called off of the thing. It's become, in this day and age, I think the kids don't walk anymore. Even though we have a village pickup, parents, we still have a lot of parents that are driving their children to school. And it gets to be a real hazard out there some mornings. And
But the way I have it broke down is on an hourly basis, it's $16 an hour. So on a part-time basis, I think that's a pretty good part-time job.
I'm not questioning that,
Okay.
Jim.
All right.
What my question was, and it was mainly, was
Are we
the
gonna
20
keep-
hours, is that enough for the clerical to do the work that needs to be done?
You know, when I
wasn't-
started, and we got
keep 20 hours.
sidetracked a little
Sidetracked.
bit by the school crossing guard.
Yeah.
I mean, she's doing those duties.
Mm-hmm.
And then Helen's duties, she's doing all the state reporting, and she's doing all the record keeping and stuff, and she is very busy. My opinion is that her job is a 40-hour-a-week job. If you backed off on her position and didn't have her doing all the state reporting and all the record keeping and so on that she does, who's going to do it?
The state reporting on what, on like accidents?
Well, yeah, you have to report all your accidents you have to report all your activity. Plain and simple, it's what's called the Uniform Crime Report. And when I was the chief in Newark, before it started to get so that it was data entry, you did it longhand, and I literally spent 20 hours a week doing a report. I was a 20-hour-a-week, very well-paid clerk that really didn't know what he was doing, clerical work. The state has huge and cumbersome requirements of police departments, what they report. Clyde has a woman working down there doing all their reporting for whatever little activity they have. It all has to be documented and reported.
That's good.
I thought that a previous report indicated that Denise basically paid for herself with traffic ticket fines.
It is my opinion that if you look at what it would cost you to hire a school crossing guard, and what are you going to get in the way of a school crossing guard? Are you going to offer employment to somebody an hour in the morning and the hour in the afternoon? Newark found in order to attract people, they had to offer it as a 20-hour-a-week position, which then boils it down to 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. If you hire somebody at that, now think about their salary and so on. and then take Denise and look at what she generates through parking revenue, you know, now you've got that cost. She's recovering the cost of the parking, and she is working at what it would cost you anyhow for the school crossing. Because you got the two halves.
What do we?
I was on the
make
impression that
on,
it was
parking
like
tickets?
$1,200 a year. You said 8,000, but that was on the books that we couldn't
Couldn't
recover.
collect it, right?
There's a lot on the books that can't be
But,
collected,
I
6
mean,
to 8,000 right now.
There's no way that she writes enough tickets to cover her salary.
No, yes, that's
Maybe the
true.
parking, maybe the 2 hours a day.
The parking, the part that you are paying above and beyond what you would pay a crossing
No, it
guard,
isn't.
she's covering that.
100%.
If the cost of the crossing guard's a given that the municipality is gonna have to incur.
If one clerk take care of both things.
I don't know.
I honestly think if there's a concern with having coverage of the police officers and there's a concern with the crossing guards and the clerk, why couldn't you up one more full-time or 2 more part-time police officers and have an officer in there do the clerical work and the,
Why do you wanna pay a clerk that much money, John?
let me finish. On the downtime, you would have an officer that would be your backup person. On the downtime, that officer can go out and write tickets and arrest people if they can. Right now, you have a parking attendant that cannot arrest anybody. So for the 38,000, and you're saying it's 55,000, which is only another 17 grand. If you eliminate 1 or 2 positions, you could have that person do multiple jobs as a,
Plus the courts.
plus the courts. You could get a whole bunch of stuff into one person that works 40 hours a week.
Being behind a desk.
Being on a desk, being the crossing guard, could be out on the streets, it could be your backup, it could be, it addresses your safety issues, it brings up your being alone, it brings up a lot of things. I'm just saying if there's one person in there who was able to do more being an officer, it would be more beneficial, I think, as an asset.
And then when people got problems too, they can always, they're talking to a police officer.
Right.
One way to look at it.
Well,
Yeah, I think it's
it'd be
important.
nice if you could find that person.
Well, for years we had a sergeant clerk. What was Mr. Rising? He was a desk clerk for years.
No, he was a police sergeant.
He was a police sergeant, but he was considered a desk clerk, and he stayed in-house
With
most of the
sergeant.
time. He stayed in-house and did a lot of paperwork.
That's
years.
because he was new to the computers and he worked
But he was-
putting the information into the computers.
But the officer did that and also went out and did other things out
Like I
on
say,
the
there's
field.
Numerous things you could be doing.
Yeah, because there's been brought up, like you said, Jim, about the courts having somebody around a couple hours
They need to be
twice a
right
week.
there.
You got your 7.5 hours a week for your crossing guards. You can go out and do your ticket walking and arresting. That's a twofold. Plus you have your backup and you have 2-man on was also a concern.
I think that's a little ambitious that you're gonna find somebody to do that, but it's certainly
Well,
a
it's a
plan,
full,
John.
it's a full-time job, and if that's the job description and you find someone that will fill that job description, then you're all set.
A lot of people looking for jobs out there.
The thing that
And
you
we have a lot of people that are here already employed today. They have jobs and would probably like to keep their jobs.
The one thing you have to keep in mind is if you're using a person as a police officer, he needs to be DCJS certified.
Well, all of our full and part-time officers currently are certified,
Yes, they
Yeah.
so,
So what I'm getting at is, as you reach out for new people, you have to have certified
Right.
people.
well,
Or if you keep one person, you don't have to worry about the certification.
okay, well, you got so many things to think about, Jim. Chief?
Bring this
So-
paperwork with you to New York
Yeah.
City next week and enjoy yourself.
So, we really do need to have something by next week, so if you can meet,
Yeah.
it's.
Well, I'll try to do it Mondays, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be in New York.
All right,
I'll be back Friday.
all right.
But I will get with Brian, and I'll get with the chief.
Yeah,
I'll try to
and
crunch numbers
if you could
Monday.
find out about Clyde and how they schedule their people, that would always be good, and like you said, Macedon, if they can't do it with 6 full-time and some part-timers.
The officer in charge on a Clyde now, what's his name?
Don't have one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
He stopped in the garage today, introduced himself, I can't remember his name. Sean, is it Sean?
As far as
He
I
says
know,
he's
they
the
don't
officer
have
in charge.
anybody. Well,
What-
maybe they do. Jim.
What's
I tell you,
Billy
I don't
Carr's-
pay much
I can't think of his
attention to
name,
what they got going on
Was
now.
Billy Carr retired?
Yeah, the guy's gone.
Oh, okay.
I had a conversation with a guy from Clyde this morning in regards to a particular case who was bemoaning the fact that nobody was in charge. That was this morning. They may have made a chief this afternoon, I don't know.
Well, he stopped in and said he was the officer in charge down there, gonna introduce himself or whatever, so.
Yeah.
I think his name was Shane or, I can't remember what it was.
Well, so you got some discussions you got some people to call or whatever. Okay, so we'll table that until next week. Also, and it would be nice if if we have to go into July with this, we'll have to go into July with it. But, so we're gonna talk about fire protection, try to come up with a final answer to that. And, police department. And, I would like to get a final vote on where we're gonna have the police department and where we're gonna have the town offices.
I thought we did that.
No, every time it comes up, it's a dead horse. And I thought it was a dead horse, but we keep beating it to death, and last week it was brought up again. Because it was brought up that it doesn't look good to have criminals on the street on every Wednesday morning when kids are going to school and everything else. It would be much better to have it down at the town offices, like we first discussed, moving the police department and the courts to the town offices, and then having all the, so I thought we had discussed it. Then it was brought up to me that it wasn't a done deal. Last week it was left up in the air again. And I would just like to say, ask the first question to the chief. One of the recommendations for leaving it downtown was so that we wouldn't have the cost of moving
Right.
everything. It was, someone told me that all the stuff in the current police station is obsolete, so you have to buy all new equipment anyway. If you have to buy all new equipment, it can be moved anywhere.
Oh.
All right, Corinne, do you want to step in on this?
We've made inquiries to the person who is our computer specialist as to would there be a big difference in where the police department and the courts were located as far as the computers were concerned. And he gave us figures, and it's less than, you got it right there at your
I've got it.
fingertips.
To move, the police system is a self-contained system with a server and a fingerprint system connected to a VPN. To move this system would cost approximately $1,700 to $2,000. The village court system is self-contained with 2 workstations, and to move this system would cost approximately $1,000. The village system is presently, for the village offices, is a Microsoft 2003 server. To integrate this system with the town system, it'd be advisable to install a new server in a workgroup environment to encompass the village, Gemini, accounting, and Badger meter system with the town system. The product cost would be approximately $1,900 to $2,600, labor in the $2,000 range, plus any moving charges.
It's cheap.
Can I go back just,
Yeah, I know, I read that.
one of the reasons you said is because the kids see the criminals, like going into court, or?
When the statement I made to Sergey was that on Wednesday mornings when they have court, if you've ever walked by there, the language is atrocious. I personally walk across the street. I'm not comfortable walking by them. We still do have children, even though court is later, we still have children coming to school at that time in the morning. They do walk by them. I just felt, and this is my feeling, that if the courts and the police station were all down on Phelps Street, it would be kind of more or less out of sight. personally, when I come in to pay my village taxes or my water bills or whatever, then I kind of wander on down to Dobbins and do some shopping. And I think a lot of people do that. I think if you got that clientele standing out front, you're uncomfortable doing that. I just thought it
There'd be
would.
more if the police station isn't there.
No.
No, those,
No.
no, look,
What do you-
when they report, they would
It's
all
like
be down
we're
on Phelps Street.
Yeah, but that's only Wednesday.
It's not just,
No,
it's gonna be Monday
3
mornings.
days. I think
Monday
they
morning,
said.
Wednesday,
Wednesday's
and
the only
Tuesday.
So what you're
night.
recommending is that the court should be down on
I
Phelps
feel the
Street?
court and the police station should be on Phelps Street, and all the village and the town or offices
That was the original
would be
request.
on
or,
William Street.
Right, that
And I
was
think when
our
people are
original.
coming into town, I think when people are coming into town, if you're coming into Lyons and you drive by the police station, some mornings, Mondays and Wednesdays especially, you just get a bad picture of Lyons. I think if it's down on Phelps Street, you're not going to see that as much.
Well, explain the picture. I'm missing
The picture, then
Well,
you
who's
need,
there?
you need to
On
go downtown on
Wednesday?
Wednesday morning.
I am.
Oh,
People
it's
that
Rogues
come to
Gallery.
court.
She's right, it's Rogues Gallery, wherever you are.
Yeah, but so now you're gonna move that down on Jack, you're gonna move that down on Phelps.
Would you like me not to have them wear orange to court? Because that's what draws attention.
That's what you're saying.
You know, you pull in,
Well, they're all,
Yes.
not only
Yes.
that, but the ones that are waiting for court, they're standing outside and smoking and swearing and whatever
They shouldn't be
else colorful
swearing.
stuff is
Well, they
going
can
on.
do anything they want when it's outside, it's not against the law.
And they'll do it down Phelps Street too.
That's fine.
Yeah, but on
They
Phelps
have a
Street-
nice parking lot.
Yeah, down there
Down
by
there.
our library
It
and
said it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't want, you don't,
down by our library.
But then you start
where
getting
everybody
taxpayers on there
goes and the
complaining that kids
go.
are
Well,
out
at
there
least
walking
it's
by
on the
going to
other
school and hearing this
side
stuff
of
You got
too.
the library there?
building.
Yeah.
You
I have
know,
no
if you go
problem.
pay your taxes,
I think that's a problem wherever you have it.
actually, the hot setup would be the old community center
There you go.
Yes,
for a
yes.
facility.
Yes,
Oh, yeah. you're right.
correct. Everything could be
I
there.
bet Brian would be happy to
I'm
sign.
sure you would.
But that would probably be.
That would be
a
an
lot of
ideal
money.
location, you're convenient to the county public
Why-
safety
let me
building,
ask you a
you've got
question.
parking
why don't they bring them in the back way downstairs
there's no other.
downstairs, what?
to the police station?
I don't see any
We used to-
problem
we
with the
used to have
courts
the
being in
assessor's
town,
office
down at the
downstairs.
town office, but I
Bring
don't
them in the
really care
alley
for the
and bring
police
them
department not
upstairs
being
to
in
the court.
the
So then you're waltzing them up
community.
two
Right through the
levels
building.
of
With you. I-
They need to be
unnegotiable
present
No,
stairs
the
instead
court,
of one?
agreement the court was gonna be on the first floor.
said they
So
saved
one
you
set of
butt.
stairs.
Well, I guess if
being there.
Lucas is good with us using his parking out
Yeah,
there.
it's the
No,
same.
Yeah.
we used to
If you
park
want
there,
info
that was our
building.
park when we were there with the village.
I don't
We
think that
parked
it's-
in the alley. Yeah, we did.
I don't think it's good parking now.
Because in the same token, if you did, the police department did go down to the town, and we still had the same setup we have now with a person come up to do the crosswalk, now you're talking, there's another car for that person to drive up in, because they're not gonna, they probably
They're
won't walk.
downtown
Well,
doing
I'm
the
saying,
traffic.
right now, they're walking down the street. I don't think that person's gonna walk from the town office uptown to do,
And now, what if you got an emergency down there in Phelps Street, they gotta take off and school's getting let out, or it's in the morning and they're walking to school, patrol cars tearing
I
out of
definitely
there.
think the police department should stay in the downtown area.
Yeah, it's good to have the presidents downtown too.
All right, this is gonna be the final vote.
I hope.
The horse is dead.
Can I make one statement?
Yes, you can make a statement.
One of the reasons that originally we proposed that the administrative office be downtown was because of the fact it brings our residents, our taxpayers, downtown. And chances are, if you're coming in to pay your taxes this week, or next week you're coming in to pay your water and sewer, or get your dog license, or whatever it is, somewhere you're parking in the downtown area, and you may go get a cup of coffee over at the little restaurant, you may get your hair done at Denise's, you may go to Dobbins, fill your prescription, go to the bank, use everything that is downtown. Bringing more business to downtown. And also police cars, sometimes we have 3 police cars in front of the building. Those 3 spaces would open up to, we could put 15-minute parking so that, and people do move. They come in and for 15 minutes they can go to Dobbins, they can pay their bill.
But
I think the visibility of having, I think it's just would be an advantage to having the people downtown instead of going down to Phelps Street, because they're not going to go down there and then stop, come back uptown and stop and go to the bank and do things.
of course you're not. When people want to go to Dobbins, the coffee shop, that's a destination. People will go there. And not only that, but now they're not going to pay, if they go down on Phelps Street, that's where they're going to pay all the bills now. So, I mean, we have handicap, we have enough parking. You're not holding a merchant's parking lot. And anybody that, I mean, yeah, you might get an occasional person that's going to walk across the street, but when I come to town for the hardware store. I come to town to get coffee. It's a destination. I don't go down to the town office to pay my bill, my tax bill, because I'm going to go someplace else. I mean, I think your theory that they come and pay the taxes and then walk someplace, they're going to go there anyway.
Okay, we're going to bring it to a vote. All in favor of having the police department and courts at the current village offices and all the administrative offices for the town at the current town offices, raise their hand and aye.
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 Okay, all the people that want the town court and the police office down at the current town offices. I said it right the last time, right?
No, you're getting me confused.
All right.
No,
No.
You're right. Phelps.
You're right.
Do you want to? All right. Who wants the courts?
Let's do the police station.
The police station and the courts are going to be in the same building.
William Street.
Well,
William Street.
Did we vote on that?
That's what I'm trying to vote on.
Okay.
Everybody that wants it, the police station and the courts to stay on William Street, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
So there's 4. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4.
Of course, Brian's
Oh,
not
you
here.
didn't raise your hand. All right, 5. So that's 5. So nay,
no.
3. So it passes 5-3. The police station is going to stay downtown, and the courts are going to become downtown. And that's the last time we're talking about it. Okay. The Corinne and Thea, and anyone else meet? Was Brian able to meet?
Brian was there with us, and we met with Ed Grant and one of the other auditors from Rick Playfield from Comptroller's office this afternoon. And we had compiled a whole list of questions, the majority of which we have to wait for a response from the Comptroller's office coming back either from their attorneys or from retirement system and so forth. But one of the things that we did resolve this afternoon, and we would like to recommend to the committee, is that we change that dissolution date from the May 31st, 2015 to January 1st, 2015. And the reason for that is the town fiscal year commences on January 1st. If we wait until the middle of the year, May 31st, then there's a half year involved with the town budget. And where chances are going to have districts it makes it very difficult for them to put out a tax roll that has a half-year district. So, talking it over with the controller's office, we decided that it was a good idea it would make it much simpler if we were able to back that up to the town budget year and have the dissolution effective January 1st, 2015.
Is that enough time?
Everything should be done, and that would give the chance to the town to do their budget, because you're budgeting in the fall.
Yes, August, September.
So they could
Okay,
get
so you'll
all
be
that.
doing your budget in September and October of 2014. So you would be able to take over January 1st of 2015. Because everything Connie and Diane said, that when you get into the actual dissolution, takes time. I guess we've done a lot of the work, and a lot depends on whether, when we give our recommendations, if the village board sends us back to make amendments, because that would add another month to the timing, and it depends on whether they can get enough signatures for a revote. If there's not a revote, and there's no amendments to our thing, I agree. But if there's amendments and then signatures for a vote, we're talking about adding 5 months before we know if there's going to be an actual dissolution or not.
But
So-
they start their budget in the fall. By then, the
All right.
answer would be
Or they would,
yes,
they
we're
would know.
dissolving or not.
But the actual time frame of the dissolution,
Yeah.
can you do it in 10 months?
I don't know, because of public hearings and whatever
Yeah.
the public decides, I don't know. But
Okay, we'll table that until next week. I'll discuss that. Well, we can discuss that with consultants to see if
yeah,
they
good
think,
idea.
because they know more about the time frame of the actual dissolution process than we do. So, okay. What
And,
else?
well, for instance, somebody asked the question last week about using the fire department reserve fund to pay down the debt, to continue its purpose would be for the equipment, set it aside, or the district set it aside for the purchase of new equipment in the future.
Whose decision is it to give assets to the new fire district? Is that up to the village? Up to the town? The fire district will be formed the day that the village dissolves.
Yeah.
So the day that it dissolves, all the assets of the fire department belong to the town. Then the town has to sell it or give it to the fire district.
Right.
Sergey, Brian just, he contacted Albany on fire. He's getting a lot of stuff as far as how
How to set up the fire
whether the debt goes
district.
with it, or whether it goes with the town, or, it either goes with the district or is put in the village. He's got a bunch of stuff coming.
Okay.
He should,
And that should be here, I know, but, we did ask the question about the debt, goes with the district.
All right. Anything else that of
No,
importance?
the rest of, we
They're going to get
asked
back to you?
questions,
Yeah.
Unemployment, who's responsible for it. We, of course, have a trust and agency fund that would go over to the town, but ultimately the town would be responsible for any unemployment payment. So those were the type of things that we did ask, and a lot of them they have to verify with their agencies before we can actually give you a definitive answer.
Okay. Okay, so did they give you a time frame?
as soon as possible, I asked them, I said, please, because we're trying to wind up, and they said they would start out tomorrow.
Okay, so I guess that as of tonight, we made a few decisions. The police and fire will try to make a final decision next week. What is left with administrative that we need to discuss? We did the personnel. Is there anything else with administration that we need to discuss that is a committee decision, or is it everything, does that all go to Connie and Diane?
Yeah, I think that's pretty well done. Some of the questions, and you'll see them on the list there.
Right.
When it comes to how are we splitting up, because we have a general water and a sewer fund, how are we splitting up costs? For instance, there will probably most likely be an impact, and we'll have to come up with the total dollar figure of that impact, which is paying off retirement up to whatever the dissolution date is. But then we have 3 funds. So what we're saying, my question to the controller's office was, if we don't have fund balance in, say, sewer fund or water fund, is it legitimate to use general fund? Which it is. They said today, if you don't have that fund, and then, for instance, you're paying off that retirement, or you're paying off the employee's vacation or sick or personal time, because we all know the water fund is just starting to come out of having a deficit, that we would be able to use, and we have a hefty fund balance in the general fund. But those were the questions that I had for them, because it can't split up what it's going to cost for dissolution until I know where
Right.
we can put it.
Right. All right, so that's stuff that's going to go to Diane and Connie.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Is there anything else? Yes, John?
I've been talking to a few people about health insurance, and right now the town has their health insurance through whoever, and the village has theirs through whoever. Policy holders A and B. One person alluded to me that there's I don't know what the term, I forgot the term, community compared to private for insurances. If you're in the community bracket, you might be, say, I'm not saying they are, but the Teamsters, instead of just having, say, 30 people here in the Teamsters, they might be in a bracket with another 500-600. Where if they're in a private sector, they might only be the nuclear of the 50 employees of the village. If the people in the village of 50, hypothetically speaking, that number, if they have a good track record and they're healthy and they have very little claims against them, their rates and premiums will be a lot lower than if they were in the community one with a bigger bracket. This is what this person was trying to tell me. So I was wondering if we are community or are we private through the 2 entities, the town and the village, because right now we've looked at the savings because the village is way higher than the town. But I'm just wondering if we could look at it as instead of having a wall between the town and the village, have a group consultation with a policy provider and saying, what can we get as a private entity? Maybe the rates of the town would be lower, and maybe we wouldn't have to cut so much in the village side of it when they join hands. That's what I'm looking at. That made sense to you.
As I understand, the town is already in with the school, which has lower costs than the current village policies. So what was brought up in the past is that even though they might only be putting $5,000 toward a policy, it still might not be that expensive for someone who is going from the village to the town, because the policy won't cost $19,000 a year. So we're not looking at a $14,000 payment from an employee who is currently getting $19,000 a year paid for their health insurance. If that same policy is 12 or 11, they're looking at a $5,000 or $6,000. But that is an option. But I'm sure the town has looked into it. I'm sure the village has looked into it.
Yeah, and we have a fairly decent rate between the Teamsters and with the Lyons Police Association. One of the things, though, the difference between the town's insurance and our insurance is we have dental and optical and those type of benefit for the employees, whereas, and correct me if I'm wrong, the town does not have optical or dental. So that there is that amount. I looked up for a single person at the town rate, it's the total yearly cost is $6,155. So a single person would be paying $1,155. Two family or two person is for the town is $13,236. So it would be $8,000 that village employees would have to contribute. And where you have family, which includes children, the cost at the town is $15,087, where it might be close to 19 for the village. It's going to cost $10,000.
Well,
for
one of the
a family
benefits,
person.
yeah, one of the things that happens also, though, is that it can be taken out in pre-tax dollars. You set up a cafeteria plan, and it's taken out in pre-tax dollars so that the cost is not nearly as high. That's how our family plan is. Mm-hmm. My wife has money taken out pre-tax. She has it taken out every 2 weeks out of her paycheck, and it's not unusual for people to have to pay for part of their health insurance. So I'm not saying it's not going to be a shock to the system, but
$10,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's when you get taxes and whatever, might drop it down to about 6. So.
Unfortunately, it's kind of sad that we're, over the last few weeks, it's always been alluded to, they're all going to be new employees. And really, they're not new employees. Some of them got 20 years, 24 years. And it's sad.
It is.
In technicality, maybe they are new employees. But it's sad for someone that has 20, 25 years and all of a sudden have a $10,000 cut in their pay because they have to pay for health insurance.
Unfortunately, everybody here every week says, I thought we were here to save money. I thought we were here to cut expenses. I thought we were here to do the best job we can and save the taxpayers' money. Well, there's only one way to save taxpayers' money, and that's to cut benefits and personnel. Because you got to provide the services, and if you're trying to provide the services the least expensive way as possible, benefits in the public sector right now outstrip anything that the private sector gets.
Well, that's why I brought up maybe we should the town or the village should look into maybe different avenues.
Yeah.
They could lessen the town's already established premiums and maybe give the other ones their new
We can
employees a
do
little bit
that
more.
as a option to recommend to the new, whether it is the village dissolves, or whether the shared services is an option, to look into a cost-cutting way of providing health insurance for their employees. It's very easy to make that recommendation. You know, I don't like seeing people pay more money, but
You're looking at family plans, almost $5 an hour they're going to be paying for health insurance.
I know, I'm doing it.
I know.
I'm on Medicare, I still
You
pay
know,
$7,500.
I realize
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's very expensive.
But the other thing that's happening, as much as people hate Obamacare, there's going to be these new things that come out January 1st of next year, which is a state program for health insurance, which is supposed to be a competitive deal that's supposed to lower cost. Whether it does or not, I don't know. But I'm happy to recommend anything that'll cut expenses so that people don't have to pay as much for their health insurance. Now, I promised the people in the back corner that if they behave themselves, I would open up public discussion. Any questions that anybody has, we may not answer it, but you can ask, because everybody here on this committee, I want you to realize that when we have our public hearing, we're going to be all facing the audience, and they are going to be asking us questions, and I think this is a good preparation to see what it's going to be like. So, Pete, Mr.
The final plan, the village board approves it.
Pardon?
The final plan that the committee comes up with, the
Yes.
village board approves it. However, shouldn't they be required to sit in on these sessions? Each and every one?
The way it works is that we present the plan to the village board in entirety. They will either, if they accept the plan, it is published for 4 weeks in the newspaper and on the internet, and everybody can make, then we have a public hearing. At the time of the public hearing, it's basically the committee that's going to be put on the spot, because we're making the recommendations, and the village board will be sitting to the left saying, if you ask them a question, they'll refer it to the subcommittee and to the committee chairman saying, why did you decide to do it this way? We're the ones that are coming up with the ideas. We're the ones that are going to have to explain to the public why we made the recommendations we did.
Well, that's not my question.
I know, well, your question is, why isn't the village board here?
Yeah, why aren't they being required to sit in on this?
By state law, they don't have
They
to.
don't have to.
Right.
They should be putting in as much dedication as the committee.
Well,
I think, Pete, if they were all here in an entirety, it would be considered a meeting, and they would have to probably follow a different protocol.
oh, that's
No,
right.
I'm not saying not to be only as observers like we are, not to participate.
But
At
if
least they
there,
can see what's going on.
but the sunshine laws say you got a majority of a village or town board together, it's a meeting. If they go to the coffee shop and all happen to be there having coffee,
It's a meeting.
that's a meeting. So it's better that they're not here. Yeah, but
Tomorrow, late afternoon.
Mr. Blandino, you're limited to 3 questions.
Okay. First of all, I want to compliment all of you, because I'll tell you why. If you had more than 12 people, you ain't going to get nothing accomplished, and you're accomplishing a lot. Jimmy, on your thing, I was involved with the post office, and you said about the part-timers and that. What we did was we involved, here's what you can do. You can involve other neighboring communities with part-time, flexible, certified employees, have a pool of willing certified workers as needed. Only when your regular scheduled people have to have unexpected time off. I had a pooling thing at a training academy in Newark that I established in 1990. And we have people come from all over that could do anybody's job. You've got policemen that are looking at this time to get extra money and everything. If you had a pool of people that you could go to, the chief could say, hey, I got a guy who wants to be off, or something unexpected happen, boom, you go to that person. Just like you see people coming in town and carrying mail that you never see before. They can do it. They're all trained to do each other's job. You can do that with other offices. John was on the right track about the insurance. If you were to combine with neighboring communities, like, let's say, Newark, Clyde, Lyons, Sodas, you could get a hell of a blanket policy for insurance that would be good. On the other hand, I know how you feel about the insurance, and I know how you feel about your people, Kareem, but they got a Cadillac policy. Maybe they don't need to have the glasses and the teeth. You know?
I agree with that, Jimmy.
But, on that thing.
But to take them as a new employee.
No,
when-
I don't go for that.
It
No, I don't
is
go for
not
that. You're
appropriate.
right. You gotta honor their, what they did. But, All right, I guess I had my time, but I know, man, my head is just blooming. I just like to jump right in.
All right, so, all right, so you can talk to any committee member anytime you want. You don't have to do it. If you have ideas, feel free to talk to anybody at any time. Everybody's name and address and phone numbers and whatever are on the webpage. All right, so you're happy, it's happy to hear from you at any time. But the committee work is just about over. So Gordon, you have anything to say? Okay. All right. So if there's no other comments, then we're going to.
You got your Justin.
Brad, you want to make the motion to close the meeting?
All right.
Second?
All right.
It's always important to get your name on the minutes.
All right. So 6:30. Yes,
I
Connie.
just have a question. Last week we voted on the dissolution day and voted it. Do we have to do anything to?
What we're going to do is next week. I want to discuss it with the consultants to see if they think that if we change it to January 1st, 2015, because we're cutting 5 months off of the dissolution process. I don't want to vote again and then next week come back and say, well, they don't feel that we have enough time. If the worst case scenario we don't vote on, and we don't know until February that it's going to be dissolved, there might not be time in 10 months to do it. So instead of having another vote tonight, we're going to put that off until next week. And I can talk to the consultants about that. Any other comments? Then the meeting's adjourned. Oh, okay.
Brian, what's your feeling about the fire department? We heard a different story tonight.
About the fire department?
Yes.
Well, like I've said all along, it's really irrelevant what this committee does because there's two choices. There's a fire protection district and a fire district. The 5 commissioners will ultimately decide what the fire department does.
Do you know what the proposal was tonight on the table?
I just read it, yes.
Were you aware of that proposal?
Second page.
Of this section here?
I don't know what you have in front of you, so.
That's a proposal.
Did we not adopt the fire? Didn't we not adopt the fire one last time?
The fire
No.
district, we adopted the fire district.
No, what we did last week is a plan was proposed, and what happens is after a plan is proposed, everybody gets to read what it actually says and to think about it for a week, and then we vote on it the following week. That's been the way we've been doing the job.
Okay.
So when we came in today, a new proposal was brought up to have all part-time drivers. John brought up the fact that he felt that we should have at least one full-time man because there's one that may be retiring in the next year. So that would be attrition, and if we cut his salary and benefits out of the current budget, he feels would save between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. So by doing that, that's the same savings that Jim brought in by having all part-timers. And we feel, in our discussion, we thought that it was important to have one person in charge, a fire chief per se, who is here every day to take care of everyday job.
Okay.
And that the fire commissioners would be the overseers of the one full-time man fire chief. And if we could do it and have one full-time and all the rest part-timers, have 24/7 staffing with qualified people, that was the recommendation that was settled upon. And Jim's going to have that, or you're going to have it written up. Jim's not going to be here next week. So you have to get together and write that up.
Yeah, there's a difference of what?
So
$1,000
the-
bucks.
Not much.
that they're going to discuss.
It shouldn't be much.
But my question was,
Just,
did you know about that proposal tonight, Brian? The one that was presented by Mr. Brady?
on the back of this?
Whoever was presented by Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, I read it this afternoon.
Okay.
And my comment to Jim was, this afternoon was, I thought the fire part was already all done, said and done. Correct, Jim, when we met in my office?
Yeah, as far as the
Yeah.
fire district goes.
And I'll be, all right, you hear me out, okay, Jeff?
Okay, I'm listening.
All right. You know, this is the part that frustrates me. We can sit here and propose anything we actually want to. We can go this way, we can go this way. People want to save money, people don't want to save money. The ultimate decision will be up to the 5 commissioners. This committee, the town board, whoever else has no say over that. We appoint 5 commissioners. If it dissolves, the town says, okay, we're going to a fire district. Okay? We appoint the first 5 commissioners. Those first 5 commissioners, by law, will tell this fire department how it's going to work. This committee, the town board, has no say whatsoever in it.
Okay.
The only say we have is in the 5 commissioners to start with. If we dissolve halfway through next year, just give you the example, I just got clarification of this. Yeah, then that's the way it is. You shaking your head no.
No, he was just.
Oh, okay. All right. I contacted the town attorney this week and found out exactly what happens and what doesn't happen because there's so many rumors out there. This is going to happen, that's going to happen, this ain't going to happen. That's exactly how it happens. That's the way the law is set up. So the first 5 commissioners set the first, however the fire department's going to work. So if it goes halfway through the first year, after that first year, then you have an election for 5 more fire commissioners. All 5 that are appointed that first half a year are done for a half a year term. So then it goes to,
They can't run?
yes, but I'm saying they're only appointed for the time until the next general election. Then those 5 commissioners make up the decision for the fire department. So, you know, we can sit here and make all the recommendations we want, but it really doesn't matter because what really matters is those 5 commissioners will decide what happens. And yes, I did know about this because I read this with Jim this afternoon. And my comment to Jim was, I thought we already decided that it was going to go to a fire district. Correct, Jim?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I said.
And we voted on that a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I thought.
Well, it's going to be a fire district, but we didn't discuss the personnel.
No,
That's-
we wanted to figure out how we could do 24/7.
Yeah. But the other thing we were charged with
Yeah.
was coming up with alternatives. And if you don't throw some ideas on the table, how do you hash anything out?
Yeah, and that's why we discussed that today. It was presented last week. Options were brought on today.
Okay, thank you.
And then next week, we're going to vote.
Just like the recommendation of the police department. The MRB, the 2 ladies from our MRB said last week, come up with a couple different options for the police department. So that's what we did. And the chief made his basic idea of how the police department should go and transfer over. Jim and I talked about it in the last couple of days on some different options. But they're just options or ideas. We got to throw them out there. Doesn't mean they're set in stone. Doesn't mean somebody didn't know or does know. It is a hard thing. It's hard to want to have to say, look, you might lose your job. But I think we do got to throw the options out there because otherwise we'll have nothing to discuss.
Yeah.
And yes, I did know about this, yes.
Okay.
It actually, it's a good thing getting all of these options. The purpose of this committee is to come up with a plan, whether it's this or what we were given last week or whatever may come in the next week. We have to, when we put that plan together and submit it to the village board and to the public, something in there has to say, we recommend, now even though there's a district or going to be a district, we have to make a recommendation that the fire department become volunteer or become paid, that we have changed the hours, we delete something. We have to come up with a recommendation so that the public knows what can happen.
Yep.
And have the opportunity to say, we don't like that, or we like it, or we will vote for it.
Right.
so we're gonna be basically voting on two things next week. The police department and the fire department. So we'll clue you in on what was discussed so that you're aware, and, but we don't need to do that during the meeting, so the meeting is adjourned.